Hello and welcome to Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sandamado. Every week on Face to Face, we bring you interviews that matter to our national development. Mostly, we talk about current affairs, general affairs, and other issues. Tonight, we are focusing on politics, specifically the longest serving political party in office, the NDC, both as its antecedent and its being a party itself subsequent to that. The NDC is in pole position to take power in December when we go to the polls. But is it ready as a party, and what are the options? Why should NDC be the option for the voter? That's a conversation we are having today on Face to Face. You're welcome and join us for the next 1 hour or so for that conversation. My guest on Face to Face today is Sammy Gyamfi. He's National Communications Officer of the NDC. He's joined us. You're welcome to Face to Face.
Thanks for having me, Sander.
How are you looking?
By God's grace, we are in good health, even though things are in a mess. The economy is in tatters. But 7 December 2024 is not far. And so we have hope that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the nation builder, is coming to rescue this country from the clutches of the inept, incompetent, insensitive, corrupt, nepotistic Akufo-Addo.
This is your response to a greeting as to how are you. Now, if I ask you a question about how the economy is doing,
I'm only expressing the hope that even though the country is in this darkest hour, a new morning is beckoning, and very soon we will see improvement in our living conditions.
Let's talk about improvements in living conditions. People say that when you in the NDC make statements about things being so bad, you are not saints either. They say that Ghanaians do not forget, and that 7 years ago may be long, but may have been very recent, and we remember everything that we went through. We are complaining about Dumso now, but it's just been a few weeks. Yours took months. So they say that you don't have, you cannot, what's the word? You don't have clean hands when it comes to these matters of governance. How do you respond to that?
Well, you see, governments are formed by political parties or by human beings. And to the extent that human beings are fallible, you cannot have a perfect government anywhere in the world. So we in the NDC don't claim perfection. What we claim is that we have a more transformational vision and agenda for the country. And anytime we are given the opportunity to govern this country, we focus on pursuing true development nationwide, inclusivity and progress for all and not a select few. And our track record is there for everybody to see. We take responsibility for problems and we fix those problems. We build this nation. That is what the records show. You made mention of Dumso, for example. Dumso was not the creation of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. Even before 2012, you know, that Ghana had recorded Dumso in 1984. We had recorded Dumso in 1988. You recall the infamous decision of then President Kufuor to send pastors to Akosombo Dam to pray.
2007.
2007. For rains to fall, you know. So we recorded Dumso in 84, in 1998, 99. That's at the tail end of the government of Jerry John Rawlings, and even at the tail end of the government of President Kufuor. And that problem was largely because successive governments had failed to make significant investments in increasing generation in consonance with increasing demand.
When you say successive governments, your party has been in power the longest. I mean, if you look at Ghana's age, we are 67. You have done like half of that age as a political grouping. So you should be the one
and that is why we have results to show for in all sectors. If you want, let's start from education. Look at the public universities we have today in Ghana. Which political tradition has built more public universities in Ghana than the NDC? Which political tradition has built more secondary schools than the NDC? Or more hospitals than the NDC? And so we've not just been in office for the longest period of time. Our record justifies the trust, at least under this Fourth Republic, that the people of this country, under this democratic dispensation, have reposed in us. But back to the point I was making about Dumso. It was under the Jerry Rawlings era that we saw the Aboase thermal plants. So investments were made, not just Aboase, but there were other investments we made to increase the generational capacity. President Kufuor came in, brought in the toy machines and all that. Before he left office, he took a loan and started BUI. But that was at the tail end. So the project had barely taken off when he was, the NPP was voted outside. But in terms of their contribution to the generational capacity, it was only 50 megawatts. We did far more, even under the government of His Excellency John Rawlings, not only in increasing our generational capacity, but even in increasing the coverage of electricity nationwide. Now, the point I'm making here is that if you look at where our generational capacity ought to have been by 2012, we weren't there as a country. You understand? And that is a collective failure that we all share. And so when, in August 2012, by force majeure, an act of God, as the lawyers put it, the West African gas pipeline was disrupted, which affected the flow of gas from Nigeria to Ghana to power our thermal plants, we were bound to experience a power crisis. And that is what we call Dumso, because the power we were generating at the time was wholly inadequate, to meet the demand of power in the country. But even though this problem was an inherited problem, you realize that we didn't go about making flimsy excuses. President Mahama said, I'm the president, the buck stops with me. I take full responsibility for this problem, and I am promising you to fix it in a State of the Nation address before the August House of Parliament. And by the time he was leaving office, he had fixed the problem. In fact, in Nana Akufo-Addo's true State of the Nation address in 2016, he stated categorically that President Mahama had fixed Dumso, but deserved no credit for fixing the Dumso because he created it and that he fixed it at greater cost. Alhaji Bawumia in March 2016 in an interview on Joy FM admitted that Mahama had ended Dumso because by 2016, the load shedding timetable had come to an end. And Mahama didn't just conjure the solution to Dumso. No, he put in place transformational, comprehensive measures to solve it by, number one, bringing in the emergency power plants. You're talking about the Car Power, the Mary, the Jacobson, the Sem Power, and so on. Such that by the time he was leaving office, generational capacity was almost 5,000 megawatts. Which
became a problem for you. So they said that you fixed it, but
let's go step by step. Yeah. Let's go step by step. First of all, we fixed it by bringing in the power plants, by dealing with the problem of gas, by investing over $7 billion into the ENI gas fields.
At what cost?
And giving Ghana our own gas processing plant, the biggest factory in Ghana, $1 billion investment, the Tuabo Gas Processing Plant and the Ghana Gas Company. And in addition to that, we dealt with a legacy debt problem that was crippling the power sector and the financial sector by introducing ESLA and all that. So we dealt with the problem comprehensively.
Yes.
Sadly today,
but you left
these nation records have come
you left
and have taken us back into Dumso after President Mahama comprehensively solved the problem and took us out. Now to your question about we leaving you with what? Excess power?
Not yet. So excess power which we have to pay for even though we don't need it. So the take or pay agreements that you signed, the government says that has been the bane of the power sector.
First of all, you must understand that take or pay is a normal feature of power agreements. No investor will invest in a power generational project in your country without an assurance from the government that the government will buy that power when the power is made available.
Yes.
So at the time of Dumso, there was no way that President Mahama could encourage Ameri and Car Power and all these companies to come and invest here with no assurances that when you produce the power, we'll buy. Even today that this government claims that we have excess power, they are signing power agreements based on take or pay. The LNG project they have signed is take or pay. President Kufuor signed take or pay. The BUI project is take or pay. Even the toy machines they brought in were all on take or pay basis. So it's a normal feature. There is nothing wrong with that. The most important thing is that we saw that apart from the power we need on a daily basis, there is a minimum reserve margin that is required for every country. Because if your demand for power is 2,000 megawatts and your supply is 2,000 megawatts, what about if a plant has to be shut down for maintenance? What about if there is a disaster? You find yourself in crisis. And that is why you need to have a backup, the reserve margin.
Very well.
Apart from that, you know that we are not only consumers of power, we also export power. For decades, we've been exporting power to our neighbors, Togo, Burkina Faso, and so on. President Mahama took a loan from African Development Bank to strengthen GridCo and to expand the 330 kVA transmission line that exports power from Ghana to Burkina Faso and the Sahelian countries. We took money for that project and actually commenced that project. The idea was that even if the power was going to be in excess, there were plans to export more power, sell that power for foreign exchange for the country. So a lot of thinking went into these investments. The truth of the matter is that excess power has not even been the bane of this government, because you see, it's one thing having installed capacity, but it is another thing having that capacity being available. So installed capacity and available capacity is not the same. Akosombo can have a certain installed capacity, but based on water levels, the available capacity may be so low. You understand? So if you look at available capacity, you realize that even as far back as last year, last 2 years, there were times that we were experiencing shortfalls. The problem we have on our hands is this. Why should we be experiencing starvation and hunger in a time of a bumper harvest? It was okay to experience doom so in 2012 or in 1999 or in 1984 or 2007 because the power was simply not available. Today that you claim we have excess power, today that you have ESLA to clear legacy debts,
we should not
today
have
that you have gas, why can't we have the power? So the doom so we're experiencing today is far, far worse than any doom so we have experienced before. Because not only do we not have a timetable to plan our lives, contrary to the doom so we have experienced in time past.
Over the past few minutes has just instructed ECG to issue a timetable by April.
And I'm happy that the regulator is doing his work.
By April.
Because they cannot continue to toy with lives. Today, businesses are on their knees. Some are running 12 hours without electricity. They are buying fuel and all that. The least government can do is to be candid about the problem. Publish a load shedding timetable so that people can plan their lives.
They said that it is a local
this dishonest, insensitive government is refusing to do this basic thing.
The ECG says they are doing a local issue that they are dealing with, so there's no need to do a timetable.
You know that this the current
and there are issues about transforming
the current leadership of this ECG we have in Ghana today are not only incompetent, but they are also very dishonest. The problem we have is a money problem. It's a money problem. We all know, ISEPA says so. Just go and read the cash waterfall mechanism validation report for January 2024. We're supposed to pay the IPPs,
they were
about 500 million Ghana
cedis.
Yeah. About 500 million Ghana cedis. For January 2024, we couldn't pay that. Okay? We're supposed to pay VRA, GridCo, and the rest about 300 million. We paid them 165. The IPPs, we couldn't even pay 300 million. So we owe them a lot of money. And the reason why we owe them a lot of money is that ESLA, with the MPP, criticized in opposition as a nuisance tax and promised to scrap, but came into office, increased the rate, and collateralized it for a loan for 10 to 15 years, okay, has been misused. In 2018 alone, they used 600 million Ghana cedis of ESLA funds to pay pensions. So if ESLA had been used for its intended purpose of clearing government's indebtedness in the power sector, today the debt in the power sector would have reduced. We would not have been owing IPPs in excess of $1.5 billion.
Let's move on.
So it is their deliberate mismanagement of the power sector which has plunged the nation back into doom so after the visionary nation builder, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama,
let's move from power.
So
power was a big issue for you in 2016. It's one of the reasons that you lost the election as a party. I'm sure that they would fix that. According to them, they are working hard to fix it. Otherwise, they would fall on the same sword that you fell on. Let's move to other areas. They say that they have done better. And Dr. Bawumia, when he did his press conference, says that they have done better in every aspect. They have gone digital, for instance. We have the Ghana card that has been distributed. You were not able to do that. As a party that was in power, you started this whole thing after Kufuor left it. You didn't do it. They have fixed that. He says that even though the inflation rate and the exchange rate may be higher now, if you look at the trajectory, they have done better. And he puts all those figures together, and he says that he's a better candidate.
You see, the reason why Alhaji Bawumia can talk like this is because he has no respect for the truth, and he has no respect for the good people of this country. Either than that, he should be displaying contrition and remorse for the crimes his boss, Alhaji Bawumia, and the entire MPP have committed against the people of this country. Yes.
You're a lawyer.
Today has I'm telling you.
You can't use crime.
What are you talking about?
Maybe you can use sins. That I would forgive. But
sins, crime, semantics, the same thing.
Yeah, but for
I will explain that to you. You see, there is no sector of this country today. There is no matrix today which is better today than it was in 2016 when we handed over power to them. Let's start with the economy. What was the rate of inflation in 2016 December? 15.4%. What is the rate of inflation today? About 23%. This is after it rose to an all-time high of 54%.
Yeah.
The highest in the last 4 decades, the last 40 years, plunging over 800,000 innocent Ghanaians into poverty because the government was so reckless to have impressed on the central bank to print for it 45 billion Ghana cedis in a single year, 2022 alone. So if it is about inflation, which measures the average increase in general price levels, it is far worse today than it was under President Mahama. Is it about the credit rating of our economy? Under President Mahama, our economy was rated B-. If your child goes to school and scores B-, I'm sure you'll be proud as a father, because B- is a good grade, it's a good pass.
No, not be proud.
Well, the ideal may be A, but B- is good. You manage with that. Can you manage with D?
I will hide the results.
Exactly, because D is fail. Today, all the sovereign credit rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Fitch, rate our economy as junk. CCC, in some cases RD, and so on. That is why we have been locked out of the capital market. President Kufuor took us to the capital market for our first Eurobond of $750 million in 2007. Since then, we've been going on the capital market to borrow. Now we can't go because investors say that your economy is a baller economy. We don't want to have anything to do with it. So if President Mahama's economy was rated B-, and this economy under the supervision, the leadership, the management of Bawumia is rated baller, junk,
he was a
you
mate.
can compare.
He says you can't say under the leadership.
Do you know the importance of a mate?
Yes.
You see, he can say he's a mate, but
the
know he's not a mate.
The mate just opens
because
the
under
door.
our democratic dispensation, vice presidents are co-drivers. Because the vice president is required to meet the same eligibility criteria that the president is required to meet.
But they are still,
mates
are
not required to meet the same eligibility criteria as drivers. A mate need not have a driver's license, for example.
Yes.
But the vice president of Ghana has to meet all the eligibility criteria for the president. But
it's not his government.
Let's even grant him that he's a mate.
It's Akufo-Addo's government.
But it was one ticket which was presented.
Yes,
it is not only Akufo-Addo's government.
But it's Akufo-Addo who chairs cabinet. It's Akufo-Addo's government. It's an executive.
And who chairs the economic management team?
That is just is a decision of the president to let him do, but it's not a constitutional dictate.
So then why is he taking credit for so-called digitalization?
Yeah,
you want him to approbate and reprobate?
No, he's choosing one sector. He says it's a digital part.
How convenient that
is. He's not doing that.
That is an insult.
We knew there was a finance minister.
I know you're being sarcastic.
No, I'm not being sarcastic.
That is an insult to the sensibilities of Ghanaians.
You know we had what's the name? Senior minister. What's his name? Yao Safo. He was there. Ken Oforiatta was there. There was a minister of state at the finance ministry.
Logic, for example.
So those people were running the economy.
Let's use your argument.
There was a minister for trade.
You say that the president has ultimate responsibility, executive power, right?
Yeah.
That is true. We all agree. But you also understand that the president cannot be minister for agric, Minister for Roads, head of the economic management team, Minister for Education, and so on. He has to delegate that power to his appointees, including the Vice President.
Yes.
So you know that the President can delegate power to his Vice President, right?
Yes, can, but may not.
And responsibility, right?
Yes.
And you know that the President has the final say on what delegated power any member of his government has.
Yes.
Then I have news for you.
Okay.
In the 2018 State of the Nation address, President Akufo-Addo said, thanks to the stellar leadership of the brilliant economist, Alhaji Bawumia, our economy has seen some improvements. What was he telling you? He was telling you that in terms of the management of the economy, that delegated, even though he has the ultimate responsibility, he has delegated that to the Vice President, and that is why he was giving him credit for the so-called gains the economy had made then. And so if, according to the President who has the final say on what power he has delegated to who, says that Bawumia is in charge of the economy, that settles it.
What if just...
Apart from that,
what if that's
Bawumia himself, the Bible says, by your words thou shalt be justified, by your words thou shalt be condemned. Bawumia on his own website says that he's the chairman of the economic management team. And he proceeds to tell us his work. He says the work of the economic management team has to do with shaping government's policy and guiding their implementation. That is not the work of a mere mate. In any case, mates are very relevant and important. You can be a good driver, but with a bad mate, you will fail. Because the mate is the one who bores the passengers on. He's the one who tells you where the passengers were light. He is the one who takes the transport fares. He renders the account. So you can be a very good driver, but you can be in bad business if you have a clueless, dishonest, corrupt mate. This mate is a very incompetent, useless, clueless, corrupt mate. I'm talking about Alhaji Bawumia. And that is why, he has failed in the primary responsibility that President Akufo-Addo entrusted to him, which is the management of the economy.
I'll let you make the point, but you could do without the offensive words.
Like what?
You do not.
None of the words I've used is offensive. Show me one offensive word and I will
If I repeat them, I may...
show me one.
Your use of the word useless, I think...
What's the meaning of useless?
It's an insult.
Somebody who serves no useful purpose. What is the difference between useless and incompetent? So Alhaji Bawumia, you were busy on city calling President Mahama, the incompetent one. Anytime Alhaji Bawumia called him the incompetent one, do you know the meaning of incompetent? It's far worse than useless. We entrusted him with the economy. When in opposition, he was waxing lyrical about the economics and saying that if the fundamentals of the economy are weak, the exchange rate will expose you.
The thing
Master, at the time, the dollar was about 3 cedis 80 pesos then.
Yes.
Today, the dollar is 13 cedis 55 pesos. So to the importer, what is the use of Bawumia?
They say
relative to the stabilization of the city.
This is an...
Hold on. When he was in opposition, I want to conclude this.
Yes, land.
When he in opposition was saying that they will move Ghana from taxation to production. Yes. Only for him to come into office and slap over 40 taxes on us. Of what use is he to the Ghanaian people today? Where are the concrete roads? Where are the concrete roads he promised?
That should be the
Where is the harbour he promised the people of Cape Coast? Where are the strong economic fundamentals? Okay. Was he not the one who stood on the platform and said, under the government of the NPP, the economy will grow and grow and grow, and there will be jobs and jobs and jobs? Unemployment rate today is at an all-time high of 14.7%. Of what use is Bawumia?
When you had the power challenge in 2014, President Mahama said it was the hand of God. The government now says what is happening is the hand of God, i.e. what happened in Russia.
Act of God or hand of God?
Well, hand of God. I mean, the interference of force majeure. The Ukraine war, they've talked about that consistently. The
Ukraine war is an act of God.
The COVID. Ghana had no hand in that. The COVID that came, that's also an act of God. These are the things. They said that they were growing steadily. The economy.
You realize that we are in 2024.
Yes, but this you cannot underestimate the impact of that lacuna that was created.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question. Do you understand we are in 2024 and not 2020 or 2021 or 2022?
Proceed.
Because COVID happened in 2020.
Proceed.
We're in 2024, you are still talking about COVID. So what is the terminal point for this flimsy excuse? At what point will you stop disturbing our ears?
But the consequence of 2020 is still with us, 2021.
So when will that consequence end?
Maybe
2015?
Maybe 10 years.
This is the more reason why we don't need the NPP beyond 2024. Because they will continue to make flimsy excuses. You and I know that even before COVID struck, the economy was on the verge of collapse.
Let me take a break.
Take a break, and when you come...
This is Face to Face on City TV. My guest is Sammy Gyamfi. My name is Umaru Sandamado. When we come back, the NDC has outlawed or rather named a running mate, Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. Now, he's talked about the importance of a mate in the scheme of things. How important is Prof going to be in the scheme of things for the NDC, having been named as a running mate for the second time? Stay with us. You're welcome back. This Face-to-Face on City TV. Sammy Gyamfi is my guest. You have said that running mates or vice presidents are very important.
Can we finish with the COVID issue?
One point. John Mahama was vice president to Males, and then he later became president. We have gone to the IMF. It shows clearly that there was a mismanagement of the economy. That's why we went there. Now that he has chosen Prof. Jane, what significant thing is he expecting? And there are critics who say it's old wine in a new bottle. It's not going to serve really any purpose. What key performance should we expect with the economy? And I'm using this to compare to what Dr. Bawumia has done. How is Prof going to do?
Well, before I answer that, let me deal with the erroneous foundation of your question. Because President Mahama, yes, has been vice president and the chairman of the economic management team, just like Bawumia.
Yes.
He never claimed that he was a mere mate. Under his leadership, we saw Ghana's best economic performance.
And that's why we went to IMF.
When John Mahama was chairman of the economic management team, inflation reduced. It came down to single digit and stayed there for 33 months.
But we still
you know that is a fact.
We still went to
IMF. We went to the IMF in 2015. He was not vice president then.
He was president, which makes it even worse.
Don't shift the goalposts.
No.
You spoke about John Mahama being vice president and chairman of the economic management
and became president.
Let's talk about his record. Let's talk about his record.
But why are you celebrating him as vice president?
I will celebrate him as president too, but step by step.
Yes.
Right? So, as vice president, inflation was a single digit for 33 months, true or false. Our highest economic growth rates occurred under his tenure as vice president and chairman of the economic management team. Growth rate of 14.4% in 2011, when Ghana became the second fastest growing economy in the world. Whether it was interest rates, public debt, check all the economic matrices. It was in its best state ever under this Fourth Republic. So John Mahama's record as chairman of the economic management team is not one of a mere mate, because he took leadership, he played his auxiliary and complementary role well, and for every delegated responsibility he was given by the then president, he excelled.
So he was a better mate than a driver.
And as president, he did an excellent job. Yes, the economy experienced some difficulties as a result of doom, so which he didn't create, but which he fixed.
So it means we should not
and
trust
as a result,
him. We should not trust him in the helm of affairs. We should trust him as number two.
Hold on, you can trust him, and we should trust him as a president.
The records you are showing,
despite the challenges he faced, which, and if you look at the impact of the challenges he faced, that the impact of that is far greater than the impact of the challenges Bawumia has
faced. Are those
faced.
challenges worse than COVID-19?
In terms of the
COVID-19 shut down the world.
Stable, it doesn't matter.
It shut down the world, not Ghana.
I'm the interviewee. You are the interviewer.
Okay.
So slow down. It's not about the scope of the problem.
Okay. It's what?
It is about the impact of the problem on the economy.
COVID had a bigger impact.
How many mortalities did we record?
We don't have to record.
We had partial lockdown for 3 weeks.
We recorded economic mortalities.
Can you compare the impact of COVID on Ghana's economy, okay, which recorded only 3 weeks of partial lockdown, to economies that recorded 6 months of total lockdown? Can you compare? So hold on.
Okay.
Under President Mahama, we didn't have power for close to 4 months, not by his doing, but as a result of what I've already explained to you, under investments in the power sector and an act of God, we disrupted the West African gas pipeline.
By his cluelessness.
You didn't have power. No. We didn't have the power. He took responsibility and fixed it.
He's supposed to take preemptive measures.
All the commodities that we export for Forex in this country suffered a major hit in 2014, 2015, 2016. The price of cocoa came down significantly on the international market. Same for oil, same for gold. It affected government revenue and affected the strength of our cedi. It affected government's projections and so on. Yet, in spite of that... So
you're saying that those things are grievous than COVID and Ukraine?
I am saying that the combined impact of DUBSO and the fall in our export commodity prices on the international market, on the economy, was greater than the impact of COVID-19. Why? Because,
seriously,
yes, let me explain that to you step by step. What was the impact of COVID on our economy?
Everything. It affected everything.
In terms of financial value. What was it?
It affected everything.
Let me tell you, because you don't know.
I know.
So what was the financial? Okay, if you know, then you will agree with me. So when I tell you, you will agree. The Auditor General says that the cost of COVID-19 for us as a country was 12 billion cedis. You know that?
Continue.
12 billion cedis. How much did we get as a result of COVID to fix that problem? Over 30 billion cedis, $6 billion. We had 18 billion in excess of what we needed to fix COVID. We should be thanking COVID. Because of COVID, this government had $2 billion from the IMF, who gave us even $100 million to fix Doomsor. Because of COVID, the World Bank gave us more than $1 billion. Because of COVID, the Bank of Ghana printed 10 billion cedis for this government in 2020 alone. In 2022, Bank of Ghana printed 45 billion. In 2016, when we were facing all those external shocks, the central bank printed zero Ghana cedis for the then government. So if you have had,
we don't have
in Essex, listen, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
If the government has had 18 billion cedis more than the 12 billion they needed to solve or to contain COVID, they cannot continue to make COVID an excuse for their own failings. As I told you, and the World Bank country director to Ghana has said so, Mr. Laporte. He said Ghana's economy faced signs of serious challenges even before COVID. Because before COVID,
he has also underscored
debt to GDP under John Mahama had increased. Debt to GDP had increased from 56% under John Mahama to 64% under Akufo-Addo. He had already crossed the sustainable limits. Fiscal deficit had crossed the 5% threshold this government itself has set up in the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Okay, so it had hit 7% in 2018 and 7.5% in 2019.
So things have gone haywire.
They were already being reckless. Why? Are you more NPP than Opoku-Agyemang? Are you more NPP than Opoku-Agyemang?
I am not NPP.
Yes. You are a journalist doing your work. You are not even NPP at all, to be fair to you. But Sanda, Opoku-Agyemang, who is the ranking member, in fact, no, the chairman of the Finance Committee in Parliament for the NPP, former Deputy Minister for Finance.
Yes.
He says that this government is not in this mess only because of COVID, but because of reckless spending. Have you seen it?
Yes, he has said.
Only today there is breaking news, right? The IMF says that Ghana is in this mess not only because of COVID, but reckless spending.
Who in the IMF said that?
Oh yes, I'll give it to you. It was published today. Excessive spending in 2020, partly to blame for economic woes. IMF boss, Kristalina Georgieva.
Where is that?
Published today, Ghana Web. You can
Ghana
see
Web.
it.
No problem.
I'm sure City has even published
okay,
it.
I mean, maybe happy
you can check it.
Yes, I'll do that. Let's move on. So what will Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang do differently? What will she bring to your ticket? There are people who think she's part of the reasons you lost in 2020. You are sure
there is
that
no basis for that claim.
Yeah.
Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang is a woman of substance, a woman of integrity, and a woman of valor. An accomplished woman by all standards, who has an understanding of issues that affect women and the issues that are plaguing our education sector today. And that is why she's the best person to complement the nation builder, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to govern this country from 2025 to 2029, 7th January, inshallah. And we are excited by this choice. The people of this country are excited by her choice as running mate, because she has what it takes to support His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to achieve his vision for this country. This woman, check her profile. We are talking about a woman who was the first and is the first female vice chancellor of a major public university in this country. Even before that, she had risen to the rank of head of English department at the University of Cape Coast, the dean of the Faculty of Arts, the dean of the Board of Graduate Studies, and so on. She held many positions at the University of Cape Coast and excelled. And it was for that reason that she was promoted to the apex, position of Vice Chancellor. First woman in Ghana to attain that height. If you check her record, even in education in Africa, you know that she's the immediate past president of the Forum for African Women Educationalists. Currently, she's the chancellor of the Women's University in Africa. She's been Ghana's representative on the board of UNESCO for 2 terms. Go and check her record. So we are not talking about any woman. We are talking about an accomplished woman, and the credentials are there to show for. Aside that, I spoke to you about her proven track record.
Yes, right.
You know, she's been education minister. I can tell you, we've never had an education minister like that woman. Whether it is basic education, secondary education, tertiary education, her achievements towers far above all education ministers we've had. You know,
it was at her time as education minister that there was a shortage of chalk. Chalk for blackboards.
that is propaganda created
propaganda.
by MPP
no,
media.
No.
Let me tell you what happened under his tenure.
No.
I will tell you.
When she was education minister,
let me tell you what happened.
There was a shortage of chalk.
Sure.
Matilda Emisartha.
Okay. In one school.
It was a public issue.
In one school.
In schools. And she, the second lady at the time, had to engage in this public.
That is not true.
Spat
Let me tell you what is true.
A school, headmistress.
You listen to Oman FM.
I don't listen to Oman FM.
Let me tell you what is true.
I am a journalist and I reported at the time.
Let me tell you what is true.
And
it was under the tenure of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang as education minister
that there was no chalk.
That the obnoxious shift system,
yes,
morning and afternoon school,
yes,
was abolished under her tenure.
And also chalk.
Hold on.
Was absent.
It was under the tenure of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang,
yes,
as education minister, that we introduced the unprecedented private remedials for BEC candidates.
It was under
Before her,
it was under
students who failed BCE had no hope.
Yes.
Go and check a record. Under her, we recorded our best ever BEC performance.
Okay. But under her,
listen to me. You don't hold on to one thing.
No, I'm just giving one more point.
Without admitting that what you're saying is even true.
No problem.
You don't measure
the
tenure of an appointee, the Minister of State, just by one incident.
Under her,
so let me give you the full gamut of her achievements.
You scrapped teacher training allowance, which you are planning to bring back.
That is another MPP propaganda.
That was a fatal error.
The allowances were not scrapped.
You said you were going to give them loans instead of allowances.
So that was not scrapped. That is replacement.
No.
You understand English than I do. So let's not argue.
Away. You've scrapped and
what
you are
she
replacing
did
with
was
something
to
else,
replace the allowances,
which has become very infamous, very, very unpopular.
But today we've been vindicated.
And you are planning to bring it back.
And we stand by that. No.
You're not going
bring
to
what back? We stand by our position.
Yeah.
Because don't forget that it was under Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang that we upgraded colleges of education into fully fledged universities.
Even though some of them were not ready logistically.
Began to award degrees to them. And as a result of that, we told the students that apply for the loans just like your counterparts in the polytechnics and the universities apply for the student loan. That is what we all use to support our education when we're in school. So it was a replacement of the allowances with the student loan. Apart from that, she introduced the Student Loan Plus, which allows students who gain admission but had challenges in paying their time-bound registration fees to apply for the loan even before they went to school. Student Loan Plus was a novelty introduced by Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. Under her, the beneficiaries of student loan increased from 13,000 to 24,000. The student loan amount itself increased from 650 Ghana cedis to 1,000 Ghana cedis to 2,000 Ghana cedis. That is the woman we are talking about. Okay. The woman who converted polytechnics into technical universities. Okay. The woman under whose tenure teacher absenteeism in basic schools reduced from 27% to 7%. Right. Under her tenure, we topped WASI. Ghana won the WASI Nations Award for 4 consecutive years. Okay. Under her tenure, we saw 124 community-day senior high schools commence, 47 of which were completed, resourced, and operationalized.
Let's make progress.
So her record is just unbeatable.
So you have put it on the ticket. You've put it on the ticket. Let's look at the politics of it. I have seen critics who say your World Bank is Volta region. They were expecting that you reward Volta region with a running mate. First of all, you have taken away the leadership that the Volta region had in Parliament, and now you have also given them no running mate.
Which one you've taken the leadership that Volta region had in Parliament?
I'm talking about Aveji.
But who is the majority whip today?
Yeah, but he's not a deputy majority leader. So that's the point that has been made.
Sandra, I can tell you.
No, let me just land with the question.
Whoever told you this?
No, let me land with the question. So that you should have satisfied your base, Volta region, by giving them a running mate. What do you say to that? Instead of
what I have to say to that is simple. That when the NEC, the National Executive Committee of the party, was consulted by His Excellency the President, President Mahama,
the former president
and our flag bearer, on her nomination of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. there was total unanimity at NEC and also at the Council of Elders. Total unanimity. And some of the people who rose to support, openly support her nomination, were our executives from the Volta region. So whoever is expressing these concerns to you behind the scenes is totally,
it's not an issue.
He's not in touch with the realities in our party.
Very well.
We have absolute confidence in Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. President Mahama has said that when elected and sworn in, she will have the responsibility of supervising the education sector, issues of women empowerment, and so on.
Very well.
Because the woman is competent. And it is my hope that Ghanaian women this time around will vote for the NDC. Because look, this is the first time a major political party in this country has chosen a woman as running mate, in line with what the Almighty God institutionalized in the Garden of Eden when he first created man. Because God said that it was not good for the man to be alone, and that he will make the man a helpmeet. Anything you are doing, if a woman is not part, it will not succeed. The NDC and John Mahama recognize the invaluable contribution of Ghanaian women to nation building. And that is why we are giving their place at the top.
Okay.
We are saying that they deserve to be running mates, vice president, and even president.
Very well.
We are the only political tradition that has shown this clear commitment.
Very well.
And it is my humble appeal to the women of this country that come 7 December 2024, they will honor President Mahama by voting for us and by ensuring that Ghana, for the first time, will have its first female vice president who will come and champion the welfare and development of women.
Just a point of information. So the IMF story you quoted, I have just been informed that the interview was granted to Bernard Avle on the point of view of
from
City TV.
City. So I was right.
Yeah, so you are right.
I was right.
Yes,
when I told you that COVID
right,
is not to blame by their reckless spending.
No, you're right on this instance. Let's proceed.
I'm right on all the
next
things I
issue.
said.
Accra is hosting the Africa Games. You issued a statement yesterday and you were demanding that the Minister for Sports be fired. Why?
Because of his gross incompetence, recklessness, and ineptitude, which has brought the name of Ghana into disrepute, which has brought monumental embarrassment and shame on all of us as a country. I'm sure yesterday you saw in the news that South Africa has withdrawn their men's and women's teams from the hockey competition because they say that our hockey pitch is not fit for purpose. Even before that, you saw our own cycling champion, Michael Naba, withdraw from the cycling race because his personal bicycle, which he was using for the race, broke down a few minutes after the race started. You've seen our swimming team withdraw from the 100 by 400 race because they didn't get the basic equipment they needed to prepare. We've seen our athletes being transported to the games in the bucket of rickety pickups and so on. What crime have we committed? What have we done wrong to President Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia that they cannot even discharge this simple task of organizing all African games when they've had access to $243 million, which is an outrageous, humongous, amount that they should not have even spent in the first place on this tournament. 21-day tournament. They claim to have spent a staggering $195 million on 3 stadia alone. That so-called Boteman complex, they claim cost them $145.
It's not so-called, it's beautiful. I've gone there, it's very nice.
Is it Wembley?
No, it's not Wembley.
Is it Old Trafford?
Oh no, but it's nice.
And you think, so it's nice, so it costs, so if I give you a nice car and I tell you the cost of the car is $1 million,
I'm just saying, I'm saying,
it's nice.
No, I'm saying don't say so-called, it's beautiful. It's
clearly,
nice.
this is a highly inflated, highly padded project.
You should go
There is no way that it can cost $145 million, even if the grass they use for the pitch was imported from heaven. There is no way. There is no way that structure they have at the entrance of University of Ghana can cost $34 million. And there is no way that so-called game village they have created, which is just a renovation and rehabilitation of hostels, should cost us $14 million. There is no way that a country like Ghana, a bankrupt country like Ghana, currently moving around the world with the cap in hand, knees on the ground, begging for debt relief. A country like Ghana, which can't even pay its creditors. A bankrupt country like Ghana, We can't pay national service personnel the allowances. We can't pay NAPCO personnel the allowances. We are not paying school feeding caterers. We can't feed our secondary school children and so on. You go to our major hospitals, you see people sleeping on bare floors because there are no beds. You go to our renal unit, you don't have adequate dialysis machines there to take care of the aged and the sick.
So it's a misplaced priority.
And listen. And then you decide, aside wasting $195 million on substandard facilities, you decide to budget $48 million, equivalent to 600 million cedis, which is equivalent to 6 trillion. Yes, 6 trillion old Ghana cedis on operational expenses for 21 days. Tell me whether this makes sense.
This is Face to Face on City TV. It makes sense that we take a break now. When we come back, John Mahama versus Dr. Bawumia, that's how it's going to look like. We'll look at Sammy Gyamfi's view on the Akufo-Addo government. He's going out now. He's not contest again, but he's bringing in, or his party is bringing in his number 2. And they say that they're going to break the 8. Why should Ghanaians choose John Mahama against Bawumia? Both of them from northern Ghana, by the way. Stay with us. You're welcome back. This is Face to Face on City TV. Sammy Gyamfi, John Mahama has been president for 4 years, and I think, is it 6 months or 3 months before? Bawumia has been vice president for 7 years. He may be 8 years as vice president before the elections of December 7. Those are the two choices Ghanaians have, even though there are other candidates. I mean, Alan Chamantin wants to run, Cheddar wants to run, all of those who want to run. But, of course, we do know that based on history and the figures, those are the two front runners. Why should Ghanaians settle for your candidate, John Mahama, and not Dr. Bawumia to break the 8?
Because number 1, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is trustworthy. Number 2, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has a proven track record that shows that he can turn this nation around. He's tried and tested. He's an experienced leader, and that is the kind of leader we need now, an experienced leader and not an experiment. And number 3, because His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is the one who has the transformational vision and agenda that can work for Mother Ghana. On trustworthiness, you know that President Akufo-Addo, President Mahama, exudes honesty seamlessly. He is natively an honest person. Anybody who knows
the corruption tag that has been planted on him, which is part of
we are not talking about
in 2016.
We are not talking about tagging or a tag that has been foisted on somebody by the opposition. We know that that tag was nothing but propaganda, because today President Mahama has been vindicated by posterity. He remains squeaky clean almost 8 years after leaving office. None of the corruption allegations which were peddled against him by Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, and the NPP have stood the test of time. They've not been able to adduce a scintilla of evidence to buttress any of those allegations. From the allegation of him having padded the cost of the Ridge Hospital, or the allegation by then candidate Akufo-Addo that President Mahama had used $10 million to print presidential diaries, and the allegations by people like Abronye and NPP stalwarts that President Mahama had stolen money which he had used to build hotels and luxury buildings in Dubai and all that. We know that all those things were fabricated lies from the staples of the NPP, calculated to tarnish the reputation of President Mahama. But they've been in office for almost 8 years and they've not been able to establish any of these flimsy allegations. So President Mahama is incorruptible. He remains squeaky clean. His integrity is unassailable, but above all, he's honest. Unlike Alhaji Bawumia, who is reputed as a liar because he came into office on the back of many lies, and today he's been exposed for that. You recall the lie that he was going to move us from taxation to production. The lie that he was going to transform Ghana in 18 months. Can you use
untruth? It sounds a little more diplomatic.
What's the difference between untruth and a lie?
Just because we are
My grandmother in the village doesn't understand untruth. I prefer to call it...
She understands a lie.
A lie is a lie. A lie is something which is not true.
Okay.
If you tell us that you give us concrete roads, when you have not constructed even 100 kilometers or 10 kilometers of concrete roads anywhere, if you promise the people of Cape Coast, in fact, there was not even a promise. You tell the people of Cape Coast that, good people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building, not we will build, we are building for you an ultra-modern harbour. When at the time, not a single block was being laid anywhere towards the completion or construction of any harbour, you were a liar. You are a pathological liar. You cannot be trusted. You told us that in 18 months of an NPP government, no community in Ghana will have a water or a toilet problem. We know that that was a concocted lie. Bear in mind that these are not even manifesto promises. Okay, these are promises that Alhaji Bawumia himself fabricated, concocted for the sole purpose of winning votes when he knew that those promises cannot be achieved.
He says he will be his own
man. And day in, day out, he continues
He says he will
to
be
lie.
his own man now.
He knows that that is not true. He
And
knows that a vote for him,
his own path.
he knows that a vote for him is a third-term vote for President Akufo-Addo.
How is that
In
so?
any
He
case,
said he will scrap
the
A-level,
fact that he will
instance.
be his own man should even make us more afraid of him, because he is more deadly than President Akufo-Addo. He is more dishonest than President Akufo-Addo. Bawumia is Akufo-Addo Pro Max when it comes to dishonesty and corruption.
How?
Today,
Corruption.
the director of administration of the office of Bawumia is being prosecuted by the special prosecutor. Why?
But that's the
Why is he being
administration.
prosecuted? Why?
Over issues, of course.
Over what? Because he used the official letterhead of Bawumia, okay, wrote a letter in the name of Bawumia to steal 10 containers of rice
So he's
belonging to a private
He's
businessman.
an individual.
So why is he still working with Bawumia? Can you use?
He has not been found guilty.
Oh, okay. Can you use the letterhead of CTTV, write a letter to customs to steal 10 containers of rice?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And then City will say that still work with us. No punishment, nothing.
We investigate. Investigations are ongoing.
But Alhaji Bawumia himself has considered that the letter was written, and that is why his office has issued a statement admitting that it happened, but that the vice president himself was not aware. My point is that if he was not aware, why hasn't he been able to crack the whip?
Okay.
Not just that alone. This is the man who orchestrated the biggest corruption scandal in the history of Ghana. You know that.
Which one?
PDS. Ghana lost $2 billion because
The vice president was in charge of that?
he was the one who, on the 19th of April 2019, according to the FTI report, chaired a meeting at Jubilee House and decided that the important condition precedent of a bank guarantee which PDS was supposed to present before the takeover of the 20 billion Ghana cedis assets of ECG be changed without approval of Parliament into a condition subsequent of an insurance guarantee. And he allowed this group of fraudsters in the words of Peter Miwu, then Minister of Energy, to use a fake insurance guarantee to defraud us. Today, they've gone away with 1.5 billion Ghana cedis that we pay to them in electricity bills. Why? Because Vice President Bawumia decided to aid and abet them to perpetrate this crime against the state.
To go, but
so clearly, he is worse than President Akufo-Addo. He is only coming. President Akufo-Addo is determined. You've heard him say that I will only hand over to Bawumia. You've heard him say that.
Yes,
it's because he wants to escape post-regime accountability. And he knows that President Alhaji Bawumia is that puppet of his who can give him that comfort and protection. He could not get that kind of comfort from Kennedy Japan. So there was no way he was going to support Kennedy Japan. And clearly he won't get that comfort, that escape from post-regime accountability from President Mahama. Because President Mahama has said on public record that the sword of the fight against corruption under his tenure will cut both ways, no matter whose ox is God, and that will investigate all the corruption scandals.
Thank you.
From Ejapa, PDS, all of them, including this $243 million All-African Games scandal, and ensure that stolen monies are retrieved for the state for the benefit of the people, and all those found culpable are dealt with in accordance with
Thank you so much, Sammy
Thanks for having
Gyamfi,
me.
National Communications Officer, National Democratic Congress. That will be it for our show today. My name is Umaru Sandamado. This has been City TV's Face to Face. Keep watching. It's your world.